So that's what we're going to be covering today is if you can cover these corners or these pillars, then you're setting yourself up for long-term success. You're setting the foundation for anything else that you take, supplement-wise or otherwise, to absorb it and utilize it and actually knock down those dominoes effectively, rebalance your system, regain composure, energy, feel 10, 15, 20 years younger, right?
Yeah.
And restore sleep and restore vitality, really.
Welcome back to Remember You, the podcast where you reclaim who you were before the world told you who to be. Remember you and welcome home. Today, we have a special encore discussion. We're giving you the blueprint to get your body back. Today's episode is especially for women in their 30s to 50s navigating perimenopause, burnout, brain fog, disrupted sleep, or weight that won't budge no matter how clean they eat or how hard they train. Justin Reich is one of our beloved co-hosts. Hi, Justin.
Hello.
Who joins us to break down a hormone you might have not heard of yet, but that's controlling you far more than you think, and it's leptin. It's your body's master metabolic switch, regulating fat burning, hunger, thyroid, sleep, mood, and even fertility. And when that signal gets jammed, everything feels harder. This is your blueprint to reset that signal, restore your rhythm, and reclaim your health without burning out your nervous system in the process. Woo, another Justin episode.
All right, let's dig in. Let's dig in. Rabbit holes. That's what I love.
Yay.
Dig into it.
So tell us, what is leptin and why does it matter and what's all the hype about it right now?
Okay, so leptin has been deemed as like the master hormone. It's produced by fat cells and it docks in the hypothalamus. So part of the brain where it's like the master conductor for all hormones. So when I say the brain is the ultimate hormone gland, it's because of that, right? So it regulates thyroid, sex hormones, appetite, and really leptin lets the brain know what's going on in the body. So if leptin and the brain are connected, then the brain and the body are connected. So it is dependent on your circadian rhythm. So when we hear about circadian biology or quantum biology, this is what we're talking about here is if you have poor sleep, if you are stressed, if you are experiencing all the symptoms that we mentioned here, can't lose weight, energy is fluctuating, anxiety, name it, it is somehow associated with leptin in some way. Midsection weight gain is another one, which is correlated to cortisol as well. So leptin, just to sum it up, to answer your question, it regulates all the other hormones, and we're going to get into how to get your brain to remember leptin.
Got it. Okay. So it also, if I hear you correctly, it's also this kind of whole philosophy on energy. So where do we get our energy from? And our energy comes from our sleep and from quantum energy.
Yeah, it's nutrition is like 1/3 of the equation when it comes to health, when it comes to weight loss, when it comes to metabolic optimization, perimenopause, everything that we're dealing with hormonally. 1/3 of it is nutrition, but we focus on it in society as if it is the whole,
right?
If it is the only thing. Exercise, nutrition, we'll put that as kind of similar to each other. The things that I want to go into are the other 2/3, which is the effects of light. If you're watching the YouTube version of this, we're wearing blue light blocker glasses, me and Hope.
Nice.
Soon Michelle and Christina. I'm sure we'll be rocking them.
I just want to say that just because you had them on first, I've had these for a long time.
Oh, yes. I don't doubt it. So nutrition is an important part. I don't want to downplay that, but the energy component to it, we want to look at it from a broader viewpoint. So optimizing sleep, a good way to put this, to have a good night of sleep, you have to have a good day. And how do we have a good day? Well, paradoxically, you have to have a good night of sleep. It's a lot harder to live a good day when you have a poor night of sleep. We all struggle more. Metabolically, you're more insulin resistant, so your cravings are going to be stronger for sweets. Your cortisol is going to be higher. You're going to be more irritable. You're going to have less focus. You're going to have brain fog. You're going to have just more breakdowns. And so when that stress accumulates physically, it accumulates mentally, it accumulates emotionally and energetically. And so try to have a good night after having a shitty day, right? It's really, it's hard to forgive yourself. The self-talk, the lack of consciousness, the lack of self-awareness, it's really like you're trying to push a boulder up a hill with, while you're dragging dead weight behind you. It's really hard. So with that, we can get into more the other 2/3 and really highlight those aspects, starting with a good day. And I said this on another podcast, and it really gets down to the basics for all things, whether you're dealing with leptin resistance, perimenopause, or any of the things we mentioned. Starting with a good day is always the best step. I don't care if you have a bad night of sleep. And this is how I would recommend starting the day. And that is...
So let me stop you there for 1 second.
Please.
This for our listeners, this is going to be what we would call like the leptin reset process. From start to finish, you're going to walk us through.
Yes.
So don't feel bad if you have a bad sleep. Go in and start your day with this step.
Yes. So the first step to the leptin reset is getting good light, quality light, and that is the sun. And just to kind of, let me actually backtrack here a little bit and kind of give a backstory to what happens with the body a little bit more in detail.
And before you even do that, just as a quick summary, so to know that you need to do a leptin reset, is it these general side effects, or is this something you get a blood test? Like before you even go down how to do it.
Yeah, good
how
call.
do you know if this is for you? Because I'm like, all of these things, sure, I want them to be better.
Yes. So I think to some capacity, we all could benefit from taking this leptin reset and approaching the things that we're going to be talking about today. But specifically, if you're dealing with low libido, low energy, if you're dealing with anxiety, if you're dealing with chronic fatigue, if you're dealing with brain fog, if you're dealing with gut issues, if you're dealing with weight that you can't lose, if you're dealing with disturbed or disrupted sleep or poor quality sleep, and I would deem that as whether you wear a tracker or not, you wake up in the middle of the night, you can't get to bed, maybe running thoughts that don't shut off, or they perk up at night before you go to bed. You find yourself waking up at 2 to 4 o'clock in the morning. You find yourself being irritable, tense, reactive, and joint pain, any of those things. It could be quality of the skin, like poor quality of skin. You find yourself taking supplements to fix this or fix that, and Instagram is promoting all these things, and you buy those supplements in hopes that it's going to help you, but it ends up falling short.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So if I have all these things, most likely, do you think it's the leptin and don't follow the next fad? Or is it a combination of everything that you're going to go through with us? Because once leptin kind of levels out, some of your other hormone issues level out.
Yes, that you hit it on the head right there. So it's a domino effect, right? What's the one thing that if I address makes everything easier to balance out and optimize, or even doesn't even require my attention at that point? Right. So specifically women and all the things that you're told to pay attention to hormonally, nutritionally, lifestyle wise, and insert anything else in there. It is a factor of approaching the things we're going to be talking about in the blueprint or in the leptin reset protocol that will take care of the balancing of hormones, that will reduce systemic inflammation. And when I talk about systemic inflammation, it's like whole body inflammation, right? Your body's stressed, you feel the stress, you know you're stressed, and it shows up in multiple areas of your life, right? And it relates to all the symptoms that we just talked about. So this is how I really approach my practice with people as they come to me with such symptoms and such issues, And we can get very granular and very dialed in with hormones and testing for leptin and all these other things. But really what I'm looking for is, where is the biggest dysfunction? Where's the biggest deficiency? And then how can we address that? And so that's what we're going to be covering today is, if you can cover these corners or these pillars, then you're setting yourself up for long-term success. You're setting the foundation for anything else that you take, supplement-wise or otherwise, to absorb it and utilize it and actually knock down those dominoes effectively, rebalance your system, regain composure, energy, feel 10, 15, 20 years younger, right?
Yeah.
And restore sleep and restore vitality, really. And, some of the benefits that should come from this is that libido picks up, energy picks up, clarity realigns, you get more focused, you get more driven, you get more in alignment with your life in all ways, shapes, and forms. And with that, you build up the resilience and strength to align your life in ways that you may have not had the focus or energy or resilience before to do that. And so what I find is, when women start to take care of themselves more, they start to optimize their life in other ways, in business and life.
Remember who they are.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely. They get more in touch with themselves, and that has a domino effect in every aspect of their life. So
you started off
did I answer the question?
I think that's great. I just wanted to make sure that there was like a route for, it's like, okay, how do I even know this is for me? Because all this sounds great anyways.
Yes.
Dive in.
All right. Thank you. So getting to the foundations of resetting your leptin levels, or resetting leptin sensitivity so that leptin can ultimately dock in the brain. I'll kind of give you the stages and what's required for leptin to actually dock in the hypothalamus and what happens. So leptin is secreted or produced from fat cells in the body, and it makes its way through the bloodstream and ultimately up to the brain. And it only docks between 12 and 2 o'clock in the morning. So it is based on the lack of light. It's based on melatonin production. It is based on all the other things that you do throughout the day. So if you are not doing the right things during the day, your body is not going to be set up for being able to accept that leptin that is circulating. It will have to essentially be redistributed and back into fat. You're going to be just kind of storing stuff into the dirty closet. And this is where systemic inflammation occurs, where it's just things start to pile up, and then it starts to affect sex hormones. It starts to affect sleep. It's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle where it's like, where do I start? And this is what we're going to get into, is where do you start and how do you create that domino effect? So it's important to optimize sleep, but how we optimize sleep is how you start signaling your body when you wake up. So for me, for instance, or for a lot of people that I work with, they get up before the sunlight, right? So you're getting up early. Ideally, best case scenario is that you get up when the sun starts rising and you get direct sunlight into your eyes, on your body, on your skin. It's nice and easy to do that during the summer.
You're right.
It's harder to do it during the winter. But what I do is I crack a window. If, preparing my food or breakfast for the morning, I crack the window and I have the sunlight coming through. So you want direct sunlight as much as possible first thing in the morning. If you are waking up before the sun, then what I recommend is getting blue light blocker glasses. So ideally the darker the better. So red lenses or dark amber lenses.
So the red lenses aren't just for the night.
Correct. Yes. So because when we turn those lights on, you're getting blue light exposure, right? Which isn't bad.
Well, you're saying wear the red ones before you if you're
getting up early.
This,
like at
you're
5,
going
8, 4
hard,
a.m.
wake up, put them on.
Yes.
And the sun's not out.
Correct.
But if that's not the option, it's just run outside, not
Yeah. I gotta get out.
put them on and sprint out the window.
With your pajamas on.
Yeah.
So
Neighbors
do these glasses give you that sense of the sun then?
So it removes the exposure to blue light because we're
Different
constantly
percentages.
It does.
and
So like this
correct.
one is like what, 70%?
Yeah, it's a higher percentage, right? So when you have this darker hue, you're just removing the exposure of blue light. So light is on a spectrum, right? From whatever it is, like 390 or 350 all the way. The visible spectrum that we see is between, I think, 350 or something like that to 700. But you get the idea. But blue light is in the lower end of the spectrum. I think it's between 400 and 500, somewhere around there.
Okay.
So these lenses reduce the amount of exposure that we get of that light spectrum. So when you wear red lens or red laser lens glasses, it's like a dark room where it's all just red.
So what's so bad about blue light?
So blue light isn't inherently bad. It's the exposure of it. So if you drink too much water, if you eat too much of a good thing, if you do too much movement, if you do too much of anything good, it can be toxic.
Okay.
Right? So blue light is not inherently bad, and it is good in the morning because it stimulates cortisol. It gets you up and going. But it's that light that we're constantly exposed to. So if you got the phone on first thing when you wake up and you put that phone in front of your eyes and it's 4 o'clock in the morning when it's dark out still, now you're doing multiple things. You got an electrical stimulant, you got a light stimulant, and then you got the addictive tendencies of the phone in and of itself, right? So you're letting the world into what should be a peaceful place, and it starts a cascade of so many things. But focusing on the light, right? The blue light is basically just giving you a high dose of blue light, which could signal that it's noon.
Got it.
So your body doesn't know what time it is.
Got it.
Right. And
So right off the bat, you look at your phone, you've reset your body to think like, I'm ready to go. I got to get this. And
I got to catch up.
Yeah.
I got to produce cortisol. I got to get up and go, and she's behind.
Stress hormone
then
right away.
So now you signal that 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and you're trying to get a good night's sleep, and your body doesn't know what time it is, and you're trying to get to bed at 9 o'clock at night, and it has no way of figuring this out. And then let's talk about, you're on the screen throughout the day, right? And this is just constantly input, that it's thinking it's 12 o'clock all the time.
So it really literally has no idea, like, where am I? What am I doing?
Yeah, it's lost. And so your eyes are really the windows, they're an external attachment to the brain, right? And so we talk about that hypothalamus, and there's this organ within that exposure to light that lets the body know what time it is. And so we're constantly taking this information in when we don't know it. Light is a nutrient.
And this is so cool. And it might even be helpful for listeners to start list the stuff that you're teaching us and these episodes to look at your body as truly like this vehicle that you're like trying to fully optimize and make work, right? Instead of, because everything in our day-to-day life now in society is working against us in all of these ways.
Yeah.
So it's like really you have to understand that these functions are probably relatively easy to fix, but it's that our society is so constructed against our natural way of being that's why there's so much disruption in this area.
So to kind of give back to the blue light and to your point, Hope, of how our environment is not set up for health. It's not set up for balancing our body and our hormones and everything that somebody may be going through in perimenopause. They are constantly under stress. And so your body is combating that stress hormonally with cortisol and insulin, back and forth. They're inversely related. So when cortisol is pumping through your veins, your body's going, okay, we gotta calm her down. So we got to produce insulin. And then insulin is producing to calm or lower cortisol. And then it's this up and down sequence. It's a rocky boat all the time.
Then insulin that could probably develop into insulin resistance.
That develops insulin resistance, which then creates leptin resistance.
So this new, this might tell me if you don't want to go into this, but this new GLP-1s and the semaglutide, what is that doing to this whole leptin reset thing? It's just adding, it's reducing.
I love that we're going to get your take on this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a short-term gain, long-term loss is what I found with the GLPs. There are some out there that actually do create insulin sensitivity, which is really I'm a fan of in regards to like a temporary fix. But the
Okay.
big problem is that you're not hungry, so you're not eating protein.
Right.
You're not eating the thing that will reconstruct and rebuild your body,
Ah,
right?
Oh.
So you're starving, and then on top of that, your body's just running on fumes, and you're losing weight, but you're not losing the right type of weight. You're
Yep.
losing bone density. You're losing muscle mass. You're losing,
which then
you're not getting
actually
nutrients.
creates cortisone, right?
Cortisol, yeah.
Cortisol, sorry. And that is bad because
Yeah.
it's
Think about like, you're running hot,
Mhm.
right? So you're going to burn out.
Mhm.
Things are going to break. Things are going to overheat. And as a result of that, it leads to more frustration, poor sleep, and systemic inflammation. Think inflammation is heat. It's really, you're losing energy.
got it.
You're losing energy. Whereas what we want to do is, what we're going to go into today is teaching, you want to fix the hormonal issues. You want to fix the lack of energy and all the things that we just listed off. We have to teach your body and teach you how to retain your energy,
Mhm.
right? And when we talk about remember you and remembering who you are, it's getting more at peace with yourself. And that whole process requires you to maintain and hold your energy, not give it away.
That quantum energy that
Yeah.
we all
Yeah.
have when we're born. And,
Yeah.
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 Okay.
And, I'm probably taking the listeners down 10 different paths, but know that we are going to get to the end here and give you solutions.
We
But
can get back on track. This is my
Yes.
fault. I'm
No.
sorry.
This is how
the GLP-1
this-
question.
you guys are
Yeah.
going through like 10 weeks of training with me right now.
Yes,
it's
I love
it's it's going down many different paths to ultimately get to that end result of what you want. So understanding that we're teaching the body how to retain energy, in these GLPs, you're not taking energy in,
Mhm.
right? You're suppressing that sensation. And what's happening is you could be balancing out. If you're not eating, you're not spiking insulin. But again, you're missing another key component, which is protein.
Yep.
We're underserved in protein. It's a big deficiency with people, and especially women. And that is one of the foundations to resetting leptin
Mhm.
is actually getting protein. And it's a signaler to the body for circadian rhythm to get better sleep.
Mm.
And so what I mean, we'll kind of transition into first step is getting sun,
Mhm.
right? Going back to the foundations, and we'll have to repeat the blueprint here to make sure everybody's got their steps down. But getting sun is the first step, getting direct sunlight. And then the second step is getting whole food protein, right?
What exact? So
Sing-
people don't understand the nutrients. So exactly what does that mean?
So whole food or quality protein, whole food protein would be anything like eggs, any type of meat. It could be chicken, it could be beef, it could be buffalo, it could be a steak, it could be anything that comes from an animal. Plant protein is not the type of protein because it's missing some of the amino acids.
Mm.
So protein, when you look at grams on an ingredient list or the nutrient facts, it could have 30 grams of protein in there, but you need to look at the micronutrients of protein, right? So the micronutrients of protein are amino acids. Those are the things, the building blocks that build up the gram of protein. And so beef is going to have a different amino acid profile than say a plant protein, pea protein, for instance, or beans, right? Same thing with eggs. It's going to have a different amino acid profile, different micronutrients that make up that protein that your body, it needs to balance out the brain, balance out the system, and cool the system down.
So quick question. When you look at a protein that you put into your morning smoothie,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people use a plant protein because they're told that whey protein's not that good.
Mm-hmm.
So what I hear you saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is don't go right to a smoothie. Just eat some eggs.
Yeah. The best option after getting sunlight is whole food protein versus liquid protein.
Got it.
If you're going to go with liquid protein, I would recommend essential amino acids,
Got it.
EAAs, because they contain the amino acid profile to help promote and support the body, support the brain, support the immune system. The first like 50 to 100 grams of protein, collagen included. Collagen, I wouldn't necessarily say is the best choice, but it's not a bad choice.
Okay.
So you could go with collagen protein, but then we got to get into quality of supplements.
And a lot of people are allergic to collagen.
Yes. Yeah.
Really?
I didn't even know that.
I am.
Yeah. Yeah. You tested out intolerant to that.
Okay.
So you know you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't read that part. I just knew when
Another one, whey protein. Whey protein is insulinogenic, so it produces insulin, which is not something you want to do first thing in the morning. Even though you may be insulin sensitive in the morning, what we're focused on is stimulating the immune system and neurotransmitters. And neurotransmitters are those chemicals in the brain that really give you your perception of reality. So if you're rich in dopamine, if you're rich in serotonin, you have this good balance of neurotransmitters to be cool, calm, collective, but driven.
Yeah.
Right? And amongst other neurotransmitters. So amino acids are the foundation to those neurochemicals, those neurotransmitters. So if we're not getting protein, then you're not producing those neurotransmitters. And then you have a world around you, to the point that Hope made, where it's just pulling from you. It's draining you. So screen time, blue light, it drains dopamine. And particularly around the blue light in the apps. It's like they've done these studies and with gambling and other such stimulating social media, it drains dopamine. It pulls energy from you. And
so when they say it's a dopamine hit when you're on social media and you're getting your likes or whatever, that's what they're talking about.
Yeah, you have a stored amount of dopamine, and when dopamine is flat, you have no willpower. So this is where swimming against the current and really, fighting the willpower. And I know I shouldn't eat this, but I eat it. I know I shouldn't do this, but I do it. The dopamine is drained.
Oh, we'll get to this, but we can talk about my cookie later and how you've helped me, actually.
Wonderful. And it's related to leptin as well, right? Cravings are related to leptin. And when I say it's related to leptin, we're highlighting a concept here of a specific hormone, but really we're talking about sex hormones. We're talking about craving. We're talking about insulin. We're talking about stress. It's all falls under the umbrella of this. So hopefully everybody's staying with me here when I'm bringing it all together, that you could say one thing that you're dealing with and it's related to what we're talking about today. That's why they call it the master hormone, because it is related to all the things we talked about here.
It's like that master key in your brain that as soon as you can unlock that, everything else will kind of fall into place.
That's well put. Yes. So how we master that is first through sunlight and then through protein intake, and whole food protein is the next step. And I also want to add a little caveat here is mindful eating. So lean people chew more. Lean people are more present with themselves. They're more in tune with what they're taking in. So it's not just about what you eat, but it's what you actually absorb and utilize. Right. So you could be in a stressful state, watching the screen, on TV, eating. You're probably not chewing your food enough, which is going to cause gut stress, right? Your gut probably, or your stomach, it probably isn't warmed up to the idea that you're actually going to take in food, which isn't going to produce stomach acid, which isn't going to sterilize the food that comes from the outside. So now you got an environment for dysbiosis and gut issues.
I used to be literally the worst.
Right?
It's like eating a salad, like on the way to a meeting.
Yes,
like,
yes.
still never
It's so
slowing
common.
down.
It's so common. Like mealtime is an inconvenience in our world. And so these are another foundation. I could give about 100 lists of things to do, right? But we're focused on the foundations here. So eating food mindfully and taking the time. If you don't have time, EAAs are a great go-to because they're easily digestible. They're easy to take in. They're easily absorbed. So that would be my, sidestep in the case where I don't have time to eat, or I just want to make it convenient and I'm just trying to get started on this journey. How do I make it easy? What's the lowest barrier to entry? And that would be my second choice out of that.
Yeah, so instead of stopping, let's say, for fast food because it's quick and easy, or eating a bowl of pasta because that's quicker and easier, that's not a good choice. Just have EAAs or protein, just pure protein. That's going to be the better way.
Yeah, and I would say, protein bars, I'd still choose EAAs over any of that.
Interesting.
Yeah, and mixing a little bit of fat with it, so omega-3 fish oil or a little bit of heavy cream or coconut oil or anything like that. Just a little dab in that EAA will help with the absorption of those nutrients. So that's a little extra there, because you never eat a protein without a little bit of fat in it. There's no natural protein out there that doesn't have some natural fat in it, right?
Okay. That's why.
Or some fat in it. And then I would say the third step, and this is a big one for people, is where's my coffee fit in? That'd be that's what we talked about last time. Yes.
Can I take it at 2?
Yeah. So
Drink it at 2.
we
So I
are
can't have me mine.
just straight to the vein.
Chugging all day long.
Yeah.
Drip.
Yeah. So it's
No Celsius.
the big thing. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So these stimulants are other things that raise cortisol. And again, there's a hangover effect to all these things, right? So cortisol, insulin, inflammation, more cortisol, right? This is what's happening in your body all the time. And then stimulants from light, stimulants from people, stimulants from the world that we created that is now causing us to be more reactionary, less present, less focused. We're draining dopamine, so it's causing you to have to drain more willpower, right? So it's just like the body is constantly breaking down, and you're trying to come up for air, and it just doesn't happen. And this is what's happening metabolically all the time. So,
which actually explains them when you're on the next Instagram fad or whatever pill you're going to take or vitamin you're taking. It doesn't really help that much, and you're like, oh, I wanted this to work, but it doesn't.
Yeah, I get this all the time. I think you guys have sent me stuff before, and I was like, hey, check this out. Does this work? And
I do it all the time now.
Yeah.
I'm like waiting for you to be like, boo. Don't buy that.
And it looks sharp. I mean, they got great marketing. It looks sharp. It's got a great idea. But then I look at the dosage of the ingredients, and they just put cool things together that do have like research-backed proof of these ingredients working, but the dosage that they administer them in with a serving or even 5 servings of these things at once would not be what I would consider something that's going to make a mark on you're not going to notice an improvement.
And the purity.
The purity too, yes. So the quality of the ingredients are very poor most of the time. I think there was a study done recently with the supplements you buy off of Amazon, even if they're reputable brands, the knockoffs and the quality control are just not there. So they're just, the companies, the way I look at it is they're just kind of dumping their excess out there, and it's easy access. There's a reason why I go with certain brands because of the quality control that they put in, and it's not, and the dosage. So the dose and the quality is really important when it comes, and the sourcing, of course, and the testing that goes into these products. It's become kind of just a marketing game, right? And they're writing off of your pain, they're writing off of your sensitivity, and they're not providing you. It could be a placebo effect for a period of time, but it doesn't last.
Yeah.
And then that's the other thing is like making it all stick. It's more than just taking a supplement, right? And that's what we're getting into here now is making the things that you are taking in, giving your body enough, removing the static enough to where your body can actually utilize it in a way that it's meant to be used. So getting into the coffee, which I would consider would be the third step in resetting leptin and optimizing your hormones, energy, and everything else. The reason why coffee, we need to address that is because what you're doing is it's essentially kind of the same thing as putting the phone in front of you as soon as you wake up. You're starting to just bump the cortisol up. You're getting the system ramped up, and it's kind of like just waking somebody out of a dead sleep and forcing them to go right to work, right? Or it's like going into a workout cold, right? And it's eventually you're going to break. Eventually something's going to snap, and it causes issues. And as I said, there's the carryover into stress and insulin and insulin resistance that occurs. So insulin kind of prevents leptin from being heard from the brain, right? So mastering your...
So you're trying to unlock the brain, and the insulin is holding the door shut.
Yes. Well put. Yeah, there's too much junk there for the door to even open.
Got it.
Right. And so kind of going back to those GLPs and all those things, it's a temporary fix where you reduce your energy intake, but then you're not restoring your energy yourself. So you're just kind of draining yourself over time. Eventually you're going to increase cortisol. Your body's going to break down muscle and other key organs or aspects of the body that is going to convert it into sugar.
That makes sense.
Right. And then all of a sudden now you're just kind of withering away the savings account for the body.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because I have friends who've taken it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they've said, "Oh, I'm losing a lot of weight, but I have no energy to work out.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah,
I could
the
barely
flatline.
walk. I'm
Yeah, they're
just like so
flatlined.
tired, and
Yeah.
like I just basically want to sit here. But hey, I'm losing weight.
Yeah. It's very what I consider like looking at things through a straw. And that's, looking at these issues through a straw and saying, if I do this, everything will improve. Well, we're finding out it requires a multitude of things, right? So you could get on the GLP to kickstart something, but I tell people it's a slippery slope. It's like it's just a get rich quick scheme where it's going to give you a temporary fix. And I haven't seen one person really optimize it without doing other things like making sure that they have someone to hold them accountable, to do the EAAs, at least get protein in at enough. But it's very hard. It's very hard, especially with a life where you got multiple things going on, from family to work to everything else going on.
So, okay, sorry, coffee. Back to coffee.
Back to coffee.
We'll
So
finish off the
stimulants and coffee, we want to push off as long as possible to just let the natural systems take place. Light, protein, those are both signalers to the body to say, okay, it's morning time. We got 12 hours to kick some ass and do some things. And then we're going to start to turn down at the end of the night, produce melatonin, and get you ready for bed for a restful sleep so that leptin can dock in the brain. And that leptin can let your body know, hey, you have this much fat storage, you have this much energy, so that when you get up in the morning, I'm going to adjust your appetite so that you only eat so much and that you have so much energy to be able to ride off of this. So if you have income coming in at such a rate to where you feel safe to invest it into fun and do other things, you're not stressing about it. You know what you have available to you. You know what's coming in. You're secure in that. Leptin lets your body know, or lets your brain know, hey, we have this much energy, we have this much fat storage. Here's what we need to produce sex hormone wise. Here's what we need to produce and start kickstarting cortisol wise to have the whole system operate and run. The thyroid, it's going to signal all those things to work together to say, okay, this is how much we have available to us and this is what we need to do. And then you start moving better, feeling better, and et cetera. When you take caffeine in and start excessively taking in caffeine first thing in the morning before sunrise or before protein, you're kind of bypassing those signals and that internal clock. And now, again, you're kind of playing that game of you're confusing the body. It's going to overstimulate cortisol and overheat the body, and it's not going to know what time it is. And so you're going to throw off the circadian rhythm, which is 24 hours, not just at night. It's going to throw off all the mechanisms and all the hormones and sequences that occur throughout the day and at night. So you want to push caffeine off as long as possible. So the ideal is after you wake up, get sunlight, have food, you try to push off caffeine for at least 90 minutes. That's the most ideal. Yeah, and that's a tough one for people.
Yeah.
So real quick, for somebody who has got a tight schedule and they get up, they do what you're saying, they want to work out. When would be an optimal time to work out? After your protein intake, before your coffee?
Yes. So ideally, everybody's got their most optimal workout window, and I don't really get into when you can get it in is the best time.
Okay.
Right. But if you're getting in, you need to work out 5 o'clock in the morning before everybody gets up and you got to do things.
Yeah.
Again, you're going to wake up. Ideally, you're going to be the weirdo wearing the glasses and working out. But if you don't do that, you know, I got clients who work out at 5 a.m. and they don't wear them and they still get results and they're doing good. But I make sure that they're going to get,
Oh, wow.
hey.
Like, where are the
Universe is
glasses?
like,
Vito?
actually,
Yeah. Yes.
get the glasses.
Emphasize
Yeah,
that.
they're like,
Emphasize
turn
that.
those lights off.
But I said, you know, don't let perfection be the enemy of good.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you're getting up and getting the workout in, you want to get EAAs beforehand if you're just on the go moving. If you can spare 30 minutes to be able to get some food in, prep your food beforehand and just heat it up and have some food before you go work out. And dosage is important because you're going to probably work out within a half hour of eating, right? By the time you get to the gym or do your thing, you don't want a heavy stomach. So that's why I like EAAs as a go-to. But if you're going to have whole food, maybe instead of 3 eggs, you only have 2 or 1 just to kind of kickstart, right? It's just enough for that. It's not optimal, but it's a better situation than not having anything.
And so ideally, you would say don't have any caffeine at all then,
Yeah, beforehand, correct.
or at all, right? Like if
Before
try-
workout?
Yeah, I mean in general at all. It was caffeine. Does it have a place, or is it? If you can get off caffeine, would you recommend getting off caffeine?
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's just you're loading with everything else going on in your life. You're living a caffeine-rich life in work demands and self-criticism and all those things that occur, right?
It's
So
also so addictive.
it's very addictive. It gives you that bump. It gives you that energy really quick. It pushes you through the day. But let's look at your sleep. Let's look at what you're doing outside of it
Yeah.
to restore that system and fill the lantern with oil as opposed to throwing gasoline on the flame, right? And people burn out because all they're doing is spraying gasoline on the light or the flame, but they're not restoring the oil, so it doesn't burn long and strong, right? It burns out after a while,
I love that.
right?
Yeah.
So caffeine isn't necessarily a bad thing, but dosage and frequency and timing. If you know, we're looking at the 2/3 that drive health and all the things we're talking about, nutrition being one component, but the other 2/3, timing, is so important with all these things. So if everybody's kind of picking up what I'm putting down here is timing when you get light, timing when you get protein, and then timing when you get caffeine,
Yes.
right? Timing is so important. And then the dosage kind of takes care of itself at that point, right? Where you're not craving coffee or caffeine as much because you're letting your system start to kind of push through and optimize itself. And so there is a growth period. There is a period of discomfort, but you got to be willing to pay that price, just like anything.
Also, wouldn't you say too, these changes are subtle? It's like you're building an internal system, so it isn't a quick fix. It's something that takes time outside of like their growth period. I mean, how long do you think it takes to correct?
I mean, you could start noticing benefits within a week or two, just by.
I can be your guinea pig for that. It was about a week, and I noticed major differences.
Yeah, just by timing, right? And just pushing that, just switching the order of operations.
And the sleep builder.
Yeah.
Which we'll get through.
Yeah,
too. And
yeah,
I'll tell everyone about my heart rate variability.
That's a special one.
Awesome.
So yeah, there's certain things. What's great about all this is we're in the information age where there's so much available to us, but at the same time, there's so many choices, which makes it very confusing. So in this Instagram supplement world, it makes it very frustrating because you're being hit with all different things and you don't know what to trust anymore, right?
Well, and also too, like, I mean, even just having this conversation with you and hearing your level of expertise, it's just like, you can't get this from an Instagram post. Like and this is the value of working with someone or talking with someone who knows, you know, leptin is one thing, but it affects, like you're saying, a domino effect. It affects so many different things. There isn't one supplement or one thing you can do. It is like the synergy of lifestyle change to, you know, achieve these, you know, optimization of your body.
Yeah, it's really, you only have so much time in the day, so you can't expect to, if you're a lawyer or hypnosis or consulting and coaching, like it's now tack that on in addition to your own health and well-being, in addition to what's going on with me, how do I figure it out? And you ask ChatGPT or Google, and you're really just you're gonna get a lot of information that doesn't really lead to anything, right? So that's where someone like me comes in and is like, I've dedicated night and day to this, and I've found people who have done the same, and success leaves clues. So now you start to, get clarity around what's good and what's not. And it's good to have that support where you can just shoot a text to me and go, hey, what's up with this?
Yeah.
And I look it up, and it helps me too, because I realize what's going on in the market.
Yeah.
Totally.
Right. And so I look at this and go, there's this tincture, right?
Yeah. What was it that we sent you?
It was this detox tincture.
Oh, a liver detox.
Liver detox.
Oh,
and it was this liquid
The
supplement.
marketing was so good.
So good.
I was like so beautiful.
Yeah.
The branding.
It
I
was-
was like, I'm
gotta buy
literally
it.
one click away, and I was like, let me send this to my consultant.
Yeah.
There's got to be something here. And he was like, don't do it.
Yeah. I looked at it and it was like, they're not doing a pill. Good move. That's a marketing, right? Ploy right there, changing the game for that. But it was just this supplement that fits the story of what we talked, or the narrative of what we talked about, which is looks cool, says great things. It's kind of like just that, that toxic X.
Yes.
They look good on paper, but then you realize they're just full of
Why do I keep
nothing.
going back?
Yeah. It just doesn't fulfill you.
Yes.
So what were we going with? So back to caffeine.
So we've
And
got sunlight,
We got sunlight
animal
and
protein.
protein. And then we got 90 minutes afterwards, coffee or caffeine, and pushing that off. Now, there's if 90 minutes is too hard, start with 30 minutes, right? And then start pushing it up 60 minutes, make it a goal. Stick with it for a week, and then challenge yourself, get uncomfortable, and be okay with being uncomfortable. And that's part of the process of awareness, of mindfulness, of health, is getting more self-aware. And in that self-awareness, you get uncomfortable. And that's part of the process. You got to be willing to grow and challenge yourself in ways that you didn't before. And these are little things that make such a difference, because now what you're doing is you're telling your body what time of day it is. Now you're getting natural light. Now you have the foundations for protein to help with the immune system and your brain. Now things are starting to coordinate and connect more effectively. You're earning your coffee. And in that process, what do you fill the gap with between after you eat and 90 minutes of coffee? Get water, right? Start drinking some of the stuff that your body really needs. And so proper hydration, where it's not just water, but it's also, and this is kind of the fourth step really, is proper hydration, right? So having water with some natural salt. You could use electrolyte supplements too as well.
Or can you just do regular table iodine salt? Or
No, I'm not a fan of that, just because it's missing a lot of the micronutrients.
Okay.
So again, getting nature set it up for us.
Well, what does that mean to someone who's like, salt in my water?
Yeah.
Like, what
Yeah,
what
so
are you
which
saying?
salt should
Like
they buy?
Redmond's from Costco?
Yeah, that one.
That's
Yeah,
the one that a lot of people like.
So
right?
that I've heard, mixed reviews on that, but honestly, I think it's better than anything else.
But like
There's-
Himalayan pink salt.
Yeah, so I'm not a big fan of Himalayan pink salt because it's overproduced. There's a lot of plastics and heavy metals that have been found in those. I've heard the same thing with Redmond's, but really, again, I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for consistency. And if you're doing these other things, your body's going to get rid of these things, any type of contaminants that you're taking in. So natural salt, Redmond's is one of my ones that I use. You can go with Celtic salt. You can go with Kona salt, which is from Hawaii. Any salt, natural salt that contains some color. And Himalayan pink salt, if that's what you got, go with it.
What about some of these? Here's another Instagram thing. Some of the like relights or hydration packs. Is that?
Yeah, I'm a proponent of those. I think those are easy go-tos. I still prefer natural salt over anything.
Because
And
they
also
have
get
sugar,
so
right?
expensive.
Yeah, they do.
Have like a bunch of
yeah.
shit in it, like except for LMNT, right? That's
Yeah,
the-
LMNT is a good one. I look for potassium citrate as opposed to potassium chloride. Same thing with magnesium. You want to make sure it's bound to an amino acid versus like a salt. So magnesium oxide, again,
and
not
someone-
being a good one.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll speak from my own thing here is I think I started to overdose on magnesium
Mhm.
because it is because I was drinking the Relight and
Mhm.
like all these things and then taking a magnesium and then doing like all these things to try to help my sleep.
Mhm.
And
Was
I
it
was
giving you anxiety?
no, that was the vitamin D, but it was, yeah, I was getting really, really tired.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So there's that I would say that's timing too, and then the form of magnesium.
Yeah.
So like you don't want to take just one form of magnesium all the time, right?
Mhm.
Because then again, it takes nutrients to absorb nutrients. So you're just kind of sending that pathway over and over and over and over again. So that's why it's good to mix up salts. It's good to mix up LMNT to then go to Relight, then go to a different form. So you want to circulate these things through. Variety is going to be your friend in that regard. So different brands and getting, your go-tos with different brands, it's pretty easy to make a good choice then
Got it.
once when you get those.
So the water in the morning, can it be any time? Because I think I listened to another podcast and it was like your brain gets dehydrated
Yeah.
first, and so like if you can get that water and keep a water with a little bit of like a pinch of salt and a lemon on the side of your nightstand, that's ideal, and you just kind of chug it when you wake up.
Yeah. So the first thing, in addition to the sunlight, like you can integrate and put things together, right? So getting sunlight, hitting the bathroom, getting sunlight, and having water at this, with sunlight is a combination you want to do.
Okay.
So that's part of the hydration. Step 4 is integrated into all the steps.
Okay, another silly question.
Yep.
So I keep reading and hearing about how when you wake up, the reason for hydration is so important is because your brain is dehydrated.
Yes.
Is that real?
Yeah. So
Okay.
when you're sleeping, you're breathing and you're releasing water, right? There's water in your breath through, and so you're dehydrating and
Like
you're not
particles,
yes.
unless you're like spitting out.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully
You're
not.
drooling, right?
Is that what could cause headaches in people or no? Okay.
Yeah. So there's a study done, I think, that went into cognitive performance and dehydration. And for every 1% that you were dehydrated, and they can measure this out based on electrolytes and the content of a urine sample. And so they can measure out like how dehydrated you are and cognitive performance. And for every 1% that you were dehydrated, it was like a 10% decline in cognitive performance.
Wow.
So 2%, you're 20% less cognitive in terms of like focus, memory retention, recall, and retaining, and all the things that occur. And so hydration is a foundation to all bodily function. So your brain shrinks as you were experiencing the headaches and things of that nature. It's related to all that.
So what's easy water?
That's a fun topic. So easy water is the fourth state. This should be headlines. Like there's so much that has happened in the past decade that should be like, we need to rewrite science books and all these things, or just get rid of them.
Don't get me started on that one.
So easy water is what's known as the fourth phase of water. If you want to look up Dr. Pollack, and he's got a TED Talk, Pollack, Dr. Pollack. He discovered what's called the fourth phase of water, which is easy water. Exclusion zone water is what it's called. It stands for. And this is really where this is part of leptin and hydration, is really the easy water, exclusion water is what our bodies actually produce, and it creates a charge in the water. So it's not, when we look at water, we don't think of it as anything other than H2O. Easy water is actually H3O2. So it's a different molecule, but it's still water.
So it's another hydrogen?
H3O2, yes. And then because of that, then it has to add an additional oxygen.
Yeah.
H3O2. It has this extra electron attached to it, so it has a negative charge. Whereas when you have just water, it's a neutral charge.
Yeah.
So when we think of health, when we think of inflammation, when we think of perimenopausal, when we think of joint pain, when you think of brain fog, when you think of anxiety, or anything that's like not good for me, I don't want this, it's negative health effects, symptoms, disease, whatever you call it, it's due to inflammation. It's due to a loss of energy. And what I mean by that is that you are losing electrons, you are losing charge. You literally feel a lower charge when you're stressed, right? You feel it, it affects you, and it impacts your body. So easy water is a negatively charged water. And basically how it's structured is it's a crystal, they call it a crystalline structure. It's a crystallized water structure that is fluid. So you can't look at it and go, it's a crystal, but it has this crystalline structure, which means it has this like barrier that it creates. So in your cells, outside of your cells, in your veins, and everywhere else, anywhere where there is what's called a hydrophilic surface, where water sits in my cup and water is not leaking out of the cup. So it's in this barrier, it's in this space, and any place where it's holding the water, that surface area, the easy water basically creates a barrier between the surface of the vein or the cup or the cell or whatever it is, and it has a bunch of electrons. And so it's not an electron. So to kind of give you an example, that barrier that is created against the surface can't be penetrated by toxins, can't be penetrated by bacteria, can't be penetrated by viruses. It is just a neutral like barrier where nothing can get through. So it becomes a natural barrier for our bodies to reduce inflammation. It gets rid of stuff. So on the outside, so to use a vein as I think everybody can understand that. So you have veins running through your body and blood is running through your body. And if you have this easy water that is basically making up that fluid that runs through your veins, you have this barrier around the vein that basically just prevents anything bad from getting through. Bad from anything getting in or anything getting out, right?
So this would be good for leaky guts too.
Leaky gut and all that stuff as an example.
Oh,
Now,
and the neurotransmitters we were talking about, because it doesn't let
it's a
the wrong
shuttle.
things
It's
get-
a shuttle.
Yeah.
And I should correct myself here. It gets bad things out.
Yeah.
Right. So it basically just creates this like quantum funnel
Yeah.
to get things out that can't penetrate through that easy water barrier. So what happens in proper hydration when you take in electrolytes is you're now creating a negative charge to the water in a sense, right? And there's ways to do this beyond just electrolytes where you can literally have your water out in the sun and it can collect photons, which is collecting electrons. Now you're creating this H3O2. Flowing water is also a way to do that. So anything,
like a stream? Or?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So then you then when you drink that water, it actually has with it a health benefit where now you're hydrating in a whole different level.
This is so cool.
Right.
So interesting.
So how do I get the easy water?
So you get the easy water, like I said, through you take electrolytes. Adding salt to your water is one way to help with that. You can get a copper container, like I got a copper pitcher at home. So I have a Berkey water filter. And then what I do is I fill up the copper pitcher, right? And I let it sit overnight. And it's called the igliodynamic effect of metals, where they disperse electrons and ions. And and so the water absorbs that. So you create a negative charge in the water.
I also was looking this up. Is there like natural ways that you can, because essentially you're structuring the water.
You're structuring the water.
So
Easy water is structured water.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
And so are there any natural ways, like Berkey, for anyone who knows, that's the best water filtration system I think you can get. I love that one. But like all these other tools, like is there anything you can just do? Like, can you put your water in sunlight?
Yes.
Can you?
Yeah.
Like-
So you can get like a glass container and you can let that water sit out in the sunlight
Okay.
and just have it.
How long?
I don't know the designated time, but longer is better, of course.
Yeah.
But you're collecting information through the sun at different times of day, and you can collect those photons, and your body's doing the same exact thing, right? So it's happening all around us, as within, so without, and so you can charge your water naturally, structure your water naturally by giving it sunlight. And then, as I said, the copper pitcher is another one where what I do is I just have the copper pitcher open and I just put it out in the sun and I just let it collect sun all day. And then as I drink water, I just pour it in my bottle and
So I might not be able to do that in my new spot in Chicago.
Oh, right. I want to do it.
Yes.
Just need that copper pitcher.
Yes.
yeah, the copper pitcher is one of my favorites.
In his book, I was just looking that up. So to give everyone context, this is a very well
Established.
very
Yeah.
credible
Yeah.
professor at the University of Washington in bioengineering.
Mm-hmm.
So he's super deep in this field. And his book is called The Fourth Phase of Water Beyond Soil, Liquid, and Vapor. And it kind of goes way even deeper.
Oh
into
yeah,
all of
it's
this.
you can YouTube his TED Talk and that's enough, I think, for most people, and it's very digestible. You'll be able to take it in and understand what we're talking about on a deeper level. But it's fascinating. Plants produce this, so this is how plants operate and shuttle nutrients and
Like their photosynthesis
Mhm.
process.
Yeah, it's how it goes up the stems and down the stems and defies gravity. It's amazing. So the easy water, structured water, that is the fourth step in proper hydration. And that can be integrated throughout the day when you wake up, getting sunlight, getting structured water, and then after food. And I tend to tell people to not drink too much liquid when you're eating because you want to focus on digesting the food. And if you drink water or coffee with your breakfast, you're diluting the stomach acid in your stomach, which stresses out the body even more, and you're not breaking down the food that you're actually taking in. So
Interesting. Okay, so let's keep
keep
the
it
line
rolling,
going.
keep it rolling.
Sunlight, animal protein, 90 minutes before caffeine,
Mhm.
and then water
Mhm.
is a start the day, and that we want that to be, if possible, with salt and structured, sitting in the sunlight or whatever else.
Yes.
What's next?
So then it is movement and sunlight. And this we'll call it the fifth step here, is integrating movement and sunlight. So you got morning sunlight first thing in the morning. That's UVA, ultraviolet A light, which is rich in blue light, by the way, but you're getting a spectrum, right? You're getting all
Not just
different
one.
colors. Yes. So you're getting the holistic approach to light exposure without glasses, without contacts, without any type of barriers, right? So you want to get pure light in the eyes as much as you can, on the skin as much as possible. And this is taking it a step further, but I sun gaze. So first thing in sunrise,
All right.
it's something. Yes, thank you for that little tidbit there. That's for my own personal preference. I do it, but it's to each his own.
Yeah.
Looking to do your own research on that.
All right.
Right.
So some people have to be careful.
You got to be careful with it. Yes. Sensitivity and personal, where you're at in health and everything else. You got to take that in consideration. But being in and around the sun, just getting direct sunlight. What I mean by that is just you have the window down or you're outside. You could be staring down at the ground, but with no glasses, no contacts, no barriers to your eyes. That's direct sunlight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Movement.
and sunlight, getting that in the midday. So ideally, you could get multiple times throughout the day, but if you can only get one other time of day to get sunlight, it would be around noon,
Okay.
right? So you got morning time and then you got afternoon. Now you're telling your body what time it is through that exposure and sunlight. Movement could be stretching. It could be walking outside. It could be yoga. It could be strength training. It could be any form of movement. But what you're doing now is you're integrating both sunlight and what's called the physioelectricity effect of the body, where your body actually produces electricity through movement. So when you use muscles, when you move joints, you're now creating electricity, which creates electrons in your body, which now creates and helps sustain easy water in your body, which has this anti-inflammatory effect. So your body is collecting and generating electrons, and that starts to reduce inflammation. That holds your energy. that gives your body all the energy it needs to balance out the system, or gives it energy to help balance out the system. So disease and anything that's out of balance, you are losing electrons, you are losing energy. Anytime you feel energized and uplifted and revitalized, you are now collecting and retaining electrons and energy. So movement is that fifth step where you get your steps in. You ideally get outside if you can. If it's cold outside, or if it's just not ideal or not available to you, movement is going to be the second best thing.
Any kind of movement.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you say get your steps, is it 10K for everyone, or is it like, because that's whatever, an Instagram, another Instagram
thing.
I've been told.
It's a good mark. It's a good metric,
It's
but
marketing. It's not real. Isn't it? I mean, it's whatever your reality is. If I don't get my 10K, I'm like, it's like OCD nightmare. But like,
yeah, I think
I've had health coaches tell me that that's a marketing number, and like if 8,000 to 10,000 is like good.
Yeah, I don't really focus on the step. Like when somebody tells me I got my 10,000 steps in, I'm like, okay, I more care about.
Did you strength?
You know, I can tell how you're doing more so mentally and energetically.
I need this,
right?
Justin.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm
She
good.
moves on to the 10,000 steps. Just tell her yes.
Yes. Yeah, I know. Come on, reaffirm it. Does it give you peace?
Yes.
There you go. But you hit on something right here where it's like you can get obsessive with the tracking, obsessive with the metrics, obsessive with the data.
Because you think it's effective and it's not going to guarantee the result you want.
So here's a way to integrate it in your life. It's more important. I don't care about steps. It's more important about like getting a 10-minute walk in.
Okay.
Ideally after meals. You're more insulin sensitive at that rate. So you're helping out with the leptin, right? Docking the leptin because you're managing insulin more effectively. You're reducing cortisol because you're moving, right? So physioelectricity, we're connecting all the dots here. We're talking many different things, but it's all leading to the same thing, which is ultimately reducing stress, making you feel better, improving your ability to deliver nutrients to the body through movement. And really, when we get to the quantum level, you're collecting electrons, you're sustaining energy, and then your body is able to feel younger, look better, and balance the whole system.
Keep the internal energy moving.
Yeah.
And
So
before we even go to the next one, is there a like the through line so far for me that's kind of blowing my mind is just how important managing your light is.
Yeah.
Do you have like a favorite book or like anything that like resource or someone who's like an expert? Because I personally like gone down these rabbit holes, but it's like it took me a really long time to even understand how seriously understanding like light throughout the day affects every single function in your body.
yeah, there's a couple great experts out there. Robert Jacobs, who's a strength coach, is probably one of the forefront guys that I would say is at the head of what I follow for light, quantum health and biology, where he just goes into the genetics. He goes into all the different intricacies that how light affects everything. And he gave a seminar a couple of years ago that I attended. And one of the mind-blowing things that made so much sense to me was he was explaining what happens to a star when it starts to die. He goes, it gets bigger.
Yes,
it inflames, right?
Wow.
It loses energy. It expands when it loses energy.
Yeah.
When it becomes powerful and stronger, it condenses,
Wow.
into was it a white or blue dwarf, right?
Yeah.
It's the brightest and strongest when it's smallest, when it's most condensed and it's retaining energy versus a red giant, a star that dies, it expands. And that just made so much sense to me. And so to carry that into, how light and retaining light and absorbing light and utilizing light, I mean, it just impacts us in so many ways. I would say another person to dig into is Dr. Bruce.
Lipton?
No, not Bruce Lipton. Jack Kruse. Dr. Jack Kruse. He's actually at the forefront, like kind of the godfather of circadian rhythm.
Okay.
He was researching this stuff back in the early 2000s before it was ever popular, and he's been beating that drum ever since. And he's got a TED Talk and a lot of content out there. that explains it really well. So he would be one to check out to dig into this more. Not sure if he has a book or not, but yeah, there's some great information out there. But back to the movement, the midday check-in, that's resetting your system, making time for that during lunch break or you have to make time for this. And I think that's one of the hardest things for a lot of people to do is like really schedule this in when you got so much going on. And you got to be willing to let some stuff break a little bit to ultimately make a change and figure it out from there. So making time for yourself and doing that is really key. So the movement and light integration is a good 1-2 punch. And that would be the 5th step right there. And then beyond that, it is the nutritional component, which we can kind of call step 6 here, is you had your protein in the morning. What should you have for lunch? What should you have for dinner? This is where it gets individualized.
Yeah.
And for most individuals, for most women, it is going to be carb cycling, right? So you're prioritizing protein throughout the day. The first thing you should prioritize in every meal should be ideally 30 grams of protein, but you might have to work your way up into that because your appetite might be shot. You may not be hungry, or you may be ravenous with carbs in certain times. But that's why I say carb cycling, because you're going to go through cycles, or if you're going through perimenopause, you're going to have to deal with stress hormonally, and carbs are essential in that component, but timing is really important. So this is where you got to get personalized and you got to get more dialed in with your situation with nutrition. That may require more.
And that's where people can reach out to you and do some of the food testing and stuff like that.
Correct.
All right. So what would be the next thing then?
So cut off the food at sunset or before sunset. So winter time is going to be different than summertime, but you want to limit carbs at night. If you're going to do any intermittent fasting, it should be for dinner. And you just want to make sure that you're getting food in ideally at least 3 hours before bed. So if you're going to bed at 9 and still sunlight, well, just try to cut it off around 6 ideally. Push it past 7 sometimes, but I really recommend anything 3 hours beforehand, and prioritize the protein, and then carb cycling would be for each individual after that.
And that includes alcohol.
That includes, yes. Yeah. The alcohol, the wine, those things, those are things that are hard vices for people to give up, even if you're not abusing it too much, but it does cause a lot of stress on the body. It causes disrupted sleep. Probably the biggest point of the whole discussion here is it lowers your ability to get deep sleep, which prevents leptin from docking, which affects the entire system, thyroid, sex hormones, and everything, just to remind everybody. So if you could be getting 6 to 8 hours of sleep, but not getting deep REM sleep, which means you're not docking leptin, which means you're increasing all the effects of what you don't want. And it could be that glass of wine or that drink at night could be actually limiting your ability to do it. And that's where we got to get into, well, why are you having that drink at night too?
Yep.
Right. Stress.
What's the next thing?
So beyond that, it is sleep environment. This would be the last one. So optimizing your sleep environment, getting ready for bed. You want to reduce blue light exposure or any artificial light before bed. And this would be, wearing the glasses if you're going to have things on. Candlelight is really the best option if you're going to be using any light at night. But you can use incandescent light bulbs, replace the energy efficient bulbs with the old school incandescent lights. They're more of a warmer hue and better on your eyes, and it'll tone you down a little bit more. But candlelight would be better. And then, just eliminating screen time as much as you can before bed. And then that also includes like reducing your exposure to technology in your environment. So part of getting ready for bed is cleaning up your room, getting rid of electronics, anything that's plugged in, unplug it, get your phone out of your room. Don't have it next to you. Don't have it pinging. Any type of Wi-Fi, if you can disconnect that. There's been studies done on the effects of EMFs and Wi-Fi on the body. And we talk about easy water and what, drinking it is one thing, but your body also produces it. So your mitochondria, which are the power packs to the cells, their purpose when you're breathing, when you're moving, it's producing electrons and it's charging the water. So your body is a battery. And anything that disrupts that charge, Wi-Fi, EMFs at night, especially when you're trying to calm down and soothe yourself, it's going to cause an energy leak. And you're going to be that star that starts to inflame and starts to expand instead of contract. So getting the phone out of the room, if it's plugged in and charged, you keep it outside of the room and sleep in a bat cave if you can. Sleep in as dark of
earplugs.
There's other hacks you can use, like blackout curtains. You can get grounding sheets, grounding mats. Those are good tools.
I have blackout curtains. I haven't done the grounding sheets, but I'd like to purchase that.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we've got kind of our core steps. One thing before we wrap up today that I'd like the listeners to hear about is your sleep builder and what that is and how they can implement it and reach out to you for it. I can also talk about some of my experience with it.
Yeah, you've been putting it to use. And it's something that the sleep builder is a supplement by Spoken Nutrition. And it caught my eye because of the focus that it really puts on the quality of sleep. And I say this a lot, and this comes from the world of health, functional medicine, and all that. If you focus on your sleep, if you're doing all these things and not focusing on sleep, you're stepping over $100 bills and picking up nickels and dimes. Strength coach Stan Efferdine termed that, and that's stuck with me. So your sleep and your quality of sleep is the most important thing. It should be the priority, but everything we just talked about is to enhance that sleep, right? So any step that you can do to optimize, if you do one step, it's going to give you a leg up on improving your sleep. The sleep builder is one of those kind of mindless things that you can do to prep. It's like a pre-workout for your sleep, right? And it checks the boxes on what I consider a quality protein, which is the therapeutic dosage. It's a high dosage of certain ingredients, which we'll get into, and the quality of those ingredients. And it tastes good. It's really sweet, naturally. And it doesn't contain any artificial sugars or stevia. It's just naturally sweet because of the ingredients that are in there, which I'll get into. But the uniqueness and another thing that I found with Sleep Builder, because it's sweet, it kind of satiates that late night snack craving, right? Yeah. And it satiates you there, so it gives you a sweetness without having to go for ice cream or something else. So it's a really good 1-2 punch there. So there's a couple ingredients that I want to highlight. Glycine, which is an amino acid, has been found in studies to cool the body down, lower your temperature, your body's core temperature, which helps to produce melatonin, which will help you dock leptin, which will help reset the system, right? So deeper sleep, and it sets the stage for your body to get quality rest. And then there's another effect to glycine that kind of has a carryover into the health benefits, which it fuels liver function. And so it actually helps with detoxification. And so at the dosage, you can't find anything on the market that is combined together with these ingredients at the doses that they're at. So you could take each ingredient and spend hundreds of dollars to get the dosage that is in just one scoop of these things. So it's really plug and play. It's awesome. But at that dosage, you're really ramping up liver function. And I find for high performers, liver function is often very dysfunctional. I don't care how much protein you're getting in, you're not getting enough of that glycine in. So it's a micronutrient that is often deficient. And I find that in testing too. So doing these tests, you can find out certain neurotransmitters that are linked to amino acids that they're deficient in, glycine being one of those precursors. So they got a high dosage of that, which is really good. Inositol, which is really great for women in particular for hormone health, PCOS, perimenopausal symptoms.
It's good for men too, though, right?
It's great. Yeah, it's great for men too. So the inositol it carries over into blood sugar management. It covers hormonal health, sex hormones, and the effects of it. It's been found in studies to reduce symptoms of PCOS in high doses. And the other factor is it's helping with the neurotransmitters with serotonin production. So it gets you really prepped and primed for the production of eventually melatonin and getting your body into a calm state and deep rest. So it's going to help with that deep restful state. The other one is theanine, which is really good at calming the brain down. It's found in green tea and it has that calming effect in green tea. The theanine is going to help get you into more of an alpha brainwave state. And again, this is dose dependent. So if you take a little theanine and not so much, same thing with inositol and glycine. It's like little doses. I could say all these things, but the dose is really important here, taking a therapeutic dose. So the theanine helps to calm your brain down, settle you into a calm state so you get deep, restful sleep again. And if you improve that sleep, you're starting to improve all the other functions that you're trying to improve and that every other supplement company and brand is trying to claim that they do, right? And then the last one would be the magnesium, and it contains 3 different forms of magnesium at a very good dosage, 300 milligrams. And again, that variety of magnesium kind of carries over into calming the brain, settling your body down, the nervous system is cooling down so that an overridden and overdriven nervous system throughout the day with everything that we just talked about, it helps to calm that nervous system down, to calm down and get you ready for deep sleep. And that's the Sleep Builder is like an all-in-one type of a supplement that I would put it at the top of my list. EAA's Sleep Builder would be those like 1-2 punch if you had to take something, because you're covering corners of the day that is really hard to do it with just nutrition and habits alone.
Got it.
So you mentioned that you've been tracking your sleep.
Only because I made it a competition.
Oh, nice.
That is true.
I'm just kidding.
No, so I gave up alcohol back in February, and I've been, obviously, I wear this watch, which sometimes is a blessing in disguise and sometimes not. But so I've always watched my heart rate variability, and I thought, if I stop drinking, my heart rate variability is going to go way up, and it didn't. And so I was like really upset about it. I'm doing all these things that I think are good for me, not drinking alcohol, eating better, getting better sleep, watching when I go to sleep, doing some of these things. And it wasn't really working. And so Justin introduced me to the Sleep Builder, and I am not kidding you. In a week after taking it, my heart rate variability has shot up to 55.
Wow.
And I'm the only thing I can
What was it at before?
Like between 30 and 35.
Wow.
Yeah, significant. You almost doubled it.
Yeah. And I'm not doing anything different. And so I can only attribute it to this, which I needed, right? And I wasn't getting enough restful sleep and all these things. And now the Apple Watch says I'm not, I'm still not getting a whole ton of deep sleep. I get a lot more REM sleep though than I have. So whatever it's doing, I feel better. It's working the magic, as you've just told us all about what it's doing. So now I know what it's doing, but before I didn't. So I'd highly recommend reaching out to you to look at this and start here. It's an easy start and then build. And I know we're doing a leptin challenge, a leptin reset challenge in July. So definitely reach out to any of us to be part of that. Justin's going to kind of kick it off. And then if you need extra support, he's here and he can put together packages for everybody.
Yeah, it's a great start. I think the message, just taking something that is focused on the thing that you're trying to improve, knowing that it'll improve everything else, has a really strong, powerful energy behind it as well. So,
and having a community to do this with, that can we'll meet once a week where we'll say, hey, what have you been doing? What's been working? What's been hard? And then, it'll help a lot. So I'm looking forward to it.
Outside of that, I don't even know if I like the word challenge. It's more like an invitation to like disrupt your lifestyle system.
There we go.
These are like, because we didn't want it to be a challenge. Like it really is like, these are really core foundational things that can completely transform how your entire body is operating.
Yes.
Like that's what I'm hearing from, these are topical things I've known, but like the level that we've gone so deep into like how this is like really changing the mechanisms within your body from like a hormonal, mental, like physical perspective. It's really incredible. And half of it is like Just step outside and look at the light.
Yeah, I mean, every,
You know,
Simple
like,
things.
it's like, but it's so so
Necessary.
disruptive to like the society that we live in today.
Yeah.
So I did do my rapid fire questions for you.
all right, let's hit it.
Is there anything else? Can we go there?
Let's
Okay.
do it.
All right. So what is one thing you wish every woman in perimenopause knew about her body?
The
The most important.
most important. I would say the most important thing for a woman to know about her body is that it is the vehicle for life. It's treat it with respect, with gratitude, with knowing how powerful you are, and every action, every step you take to improve it is really just a step towards getting more in touch and in tune with yourself.
Good answer. Okay. Biggest myth about fat loss after 40?
Calories in, calories out. Stop counting calories, start counting your screen time.
Oof.
I
Love
like
it.
that.
Best time of day to train if you're hormonally sensitive?
It would be more ideally in the morning, mid-morning.
Kind of like what you were saying earlier.
Yeah, it's typically, if you're hormonally sensitive, like testosterone tends to kind of be at a higher level in the morning, man or woman. It's really just the more energized time to get stuff done. Going into like the cycles for women monthly is a different thing. So that kind of varies.
What is one underrated habit that boosts leptin sensitivity?
One underrated what?
Habit?
Habit?
Or I guess we've already talked about that.
Yeah, but I would say sunlight first thing in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we've already gone over this. What's your favorite quick nervous system reset?
Oh, breath.
I was going to say, come on.
Yeah.
The number one. Okay. One non-negotiable in your daily routine after hearing all of that, like the number one thing.
The number one thing, non-negotiable, would be, it would be light.
Yeah.
It'd be light first thing. If a caveat to that, if it's not happening, it's protein
Okay.
first.
I knew you were going to, a lot of these answers, but I just wanted to
Yeah.
hear you say it again. Best thing someone can do tonight to improve their sleep, like outside of everything else that you've said.
Oh, I would say
Like right now, tonight, do it.
right now, just put the phone away, meditate, and practice gratitude.
Okay. If someone only changed one thing from today's episode, what should it be?
Should be get light first thing in the morning.
Okay. And then what is the most surprising thing a client has told you after doing this leptin reset?
Most surprising thing? I'd put Michelle up there in regards to what she's like. We haven't, the focus with her has been all these things in addition to what she's done. I mean,
With everything you
everything,
told me.
mentally, emotionally, nutritionally.
Yeah.
I mean, she's really changed her perspective. I shouldn't say change. She's elevated her perspective and awareness about herself in ways that she couldn't have done if she didn't put time and energy into herself and has done these things. She's grounding, she's getting outside, she's putting into practice what we talk about. And it's one of those things that I don't have to check in with her on it. She's just implementing it, and
It's a lifestyle habit.
It is.
Like,
Yeah. And if we can keep in mind, I went from a size 8 or 10 to a size 4. So everything he's been telling me to do and I've been doing with him, including the sleep builder and everything, is having an effect on my body,
Yes.
a positive one.
Love it.
And it's not just about the size, it's also your just mental like stability.
I
So-
do feel like you radiate.
You
like,
do.
You have beautiful energy.
Yes.
so-
I feel like
I know you're already there, but it sounds like
Yeah.
it's just amplified.
To kind of put it in perspective, do you mind if I share?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So when Michelle started off, she came to see me. She was getting dizzy just getting up and getting down. Like we couldn't do planks without like having to take it easy. Like getting up, rolling up, taking it easy, regroup. Okay, not dizzy? All right, let's get going again on whatever we were doing. So she went from that to now she's Like we were literally just doing an exercise that required her to get up and get down 10 times in a row. And it it wasn't easy, and she wasn't dizzy at all.
Right.
So the quality of movement and life and connection with her health has been the most amazing thing.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
It got me like a little
No,
like,
it's all you.
emotional. It's amazing what will happen when you put some time and energy into
Right,
your
you
health
have
and
to.
Yeah.
yourself, and stop
Decide.
neglecting yourself.
Yes.
You know.
Decide to take care of yourself and find the person that's going to help you figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
And then do it.
Yeah, the inner peace is really where like it hits for me when I see clients really put time and energy into themselves and the confidence that they gain within themselves. Like that's why that's what I love seeing.
Yes.
And nobody can do that for you. You have to make the choice to do it for yourself and put yourself
Yeah,
first, so
yeah.
you can show up better for everybody else around you.
Yep.
Yep,
Love that.
you're the priority.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think this is amazing. What a great episode. Was there any closing thoughts we have here?
I know there's a lot that we discussed, and we went down many rabbit holes.
A theme forever.
Yeah, I think there's so many different ways to spin this to get to the same destination. But what I would say is to gain clarity, to get like a simple blueprint. I created what's called the Sleep Builder Blueprint for this very purpose, to just eliminate the noise, give me 4 steps, what to do, how to do it. It includes taking the Sleep Builder because it really is that effective, as Christina and Michelle have said. And that will help give you clarity to everything we're talking about right here. So you can go ahead and get that at my website, justinreich.co, REICH, justinreich.co. And I have a store there where you can get the Sleep Builder as well as the blueprint.
Let's go.
All right.
Love it.
All right. Don't forget to join us in July.
Yes, we're going to be kicking it off. It's going to be a good time.
An invitation.
An invitation.
The leptin
Yes.
reset.
Uh-huh.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. And as always, remember you.
Remember you.